Okay, let's start now. Sorry for the delay. Yes. Yes, Walaikum Salam. Alhamdulillah. Abdurrahim, last week's class I gave them. Last week in Kolanda and Vellotta, I gave the paper class students. Online, it has been dispatched. Some of them would have got, some of them would have got. The physicals are given. Isn't it added yet, Ismail? Check under the July classes. Is it there? It is there under August now. I'll see if it's not added or not. I'll see after class. Recording is there on the website. I'll just check after class. Along with the file, I gave a paper as well. And we did the paper as well. Can't you remember the seventh question we did in the class? And it's not seventh question, it's third question as well. Page number 7 is Roman number 2 was we did in class. Okay, let's start. Yes, the was event will be publishing all the stuff's data. Oh my god. The recording, you mean the paper class recording, Shivza? Oh, the theory class recording. Oh, okay, okay. I'll WhatsApp it. Shiraz, yes, you can. I'll check. Okay, let's start. I'll check this one. It is Shimza because of this one, because of checking. I'll get back to you. Okay. So the question says the grade 11 students of a school built a program to input their subject marks and print the total. Okay. Here the marks of 9 subjects are entered as a whole numbers and the range of marks is between 0 to 100, including those two numbers. Okay, so students' marks can be between 0 to 100. That means 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, up to 98, 99, 100. There could be marks systems. Enter 0 if any student is not present for the relevant subject. Okay, for example, if there was a student who was absent for the exam, the marks has to be a 0. The following flowchart is provided for building the program, and you're assigned to fill in the blanks A to H in it. Identify and write the correct terms, label A to H. No need to copy down the flowchart. Ignore the dash. Okay, fine. So they are saying there's a program, it seems, to get the marks from the students and print their total. So add the 9 subjects marks and print the total. Let's check. Seems a no. Okay, let's check. So initially they have said total marks equals what? Now, before you add everyone's marks together, okay, uh, Okay, before you start adding everyone's marks together, the total marks is anyways going to be 0, right? So therefore, A is going to be 0. That is the initial value of total marks before we get any students' marks. Then you can see we have here a rectangle, and inside this rectangle, there is a letter B. Normally, tell me, in flow charts, rectangles are used to represent what type of a instruction? Is it input, output, process, or a condition? Perfect. Yes. In a what you call flowchart, we use a rectangle to represent a process. So normally, if you take a process in flowcharts, all mostly process is always representing an equation. Mostly in a flowchart, this process always represents an equation. Like for example, x equals this, y equals this, some sort of equation. Currently, we don't know what the equation is, so I'm going to keep it as it is, and let's move forward. Okay, we can't guess it for with the data we have. We can't guess what type of equation it is. Okay, so therefore, let's go for the next instruction. The next instruction has something as a condition. Okay, you can see there's a rhombus here. In a flow chart, a rhombus represents a condition. This condition is going to go and check is something less than or equal to 9. Okay. Again, it probably the C should be probably representing a variable. Okay, the C should be obviously representing a variable. And we are going to go and check is the value of that variable less than or equal to 9. Again, we don't know what is the name of the variable. Huh? Then if you come for the next instruction, you can see there's a instruction saying input the marks. Okay. After we get the marks, we are going to go and check a condition called D and E. Fine. It's a condition. So a condition means, but how I know it's a condition because it's rhombus. Always rhombus represents the condition. And you can see between D and E, there's a word called and used. So normally and is used, and or else or is used in between two conditions. So we're going to check two things. Is this and this, are both of them correct? Okay. And then if it is correct, then you're going to do something, or else you're going to go for the next subject. Okay. Now, if you come here, once you come to this point, or you will know there's a variable called subject count. When you come to this place, you know there's a variable called subject count. Okay. If you notice what is happening in this program, we are going to get 9 subjects marks, right? And after we get the 9 subjects marks, we are supposed to add all the marks together. Okay. That's what's happening in this program, right? So when you want to, if you look at the program properly, you can see that getting the marks from the student is there inside here. So that means this instruction which I highlighted in green color is that instruction which I highlighted in green color has to be repeated 9 times because we have 9 different subjects. The 9 different subjects marks will ask again and again, right? After you get the students' marks, you can see in the question they have mentioned that you have to make sure the marks of the 9 subjects are entered as whole number. What do you mean by something called as a whole number? What is whole number? Yes, whole numbers are basically an integer, which means a number without a decimal or fraction. Exactly. So whole number is a number without decimal or fraction. Normally, we're not creating the program. Okay, we're not going to create a real program. In a real program, we have something called data types. So because of data types, what do you call? You can check is it a whole number or decimal number? You can check there. I mean, is it a number without this decimal? You can check there. I don't think in this program we have any part to check is it a whole number or not. I don't think that checking is there. But there is another thing they have mentioned. The entered marks has to be within a range of 0 to 100. Okay, the entered marks has to be in the range of 0 to 100. So what you can do is we can imagine that this condition we have here, after you get the marks, we can consider D and E to be in such that you're going to go and check is the marks between 0 to 100. So how you go and check the marks between 0 to 100 is You go and tell if the marks is greater than or equal to 0 and the marks is, sorry, mark, and entered mark is less than or equal to 100. The entered mark is less than or else equal to 100. Okay. Or you can also mention something else. The marks is less greater than, what do you call, if you want, you can mention that as well, greater than or equal to 0. That's one option. And less than or equal to 100, the one option, right? Apart from this, other option you could mention is also something like this: is a marks greater than -1 and is a marks less than 101. Is also correct. But I don't think you're going to go for the second one. You can go the first one. So if you're going to go for the first condition, if you're going to go with that condition inside the rhombus, we can consider this marks is greater than or equal to 100. We can consider this part to represent the label D, and we can represent this part to represent the label E. Okay. So that condition is going to go and check is the marks within that 0 to 100 range. Okay. So we have got the marks now. After you got the marks, we have checked here is the marks between 0 and 100. So if the marks is between 0 to 100, now what I should do, I should add that marks, right? I have to make sure that I add the marks. To do that, can't be mentioned together like 0 is less than or equal to mark is less than or equal to 100. No, you can't do this. This is not applicable when it comes to certain programming language. So because of that, normal in flowchart pseudocodes, we don't use this pattern. Okay. I didn't still find B and C. I know what is B and C, but in this program, I have not still found B and C. Wait, I'm just telling you what is directly visible stuffs, right? So now I know DNA is done, right? Because the question says the marks has to be between 0 to 100. After I got the marks within the rhombus, I'm verifying the marks. Okay. Now, 0 to 100 represents me checking is a marks valid. Okay. If it's a valid marks, now what I should do? I have to add the marks and store it, right? Out of the data we have up to now found, okay, up to the vertical with the data we have up to now, tell me, is there any variable that's going to store that addition of marks? Now we have to get 9 subjects marks and we have to add all these 9 subjects marks and find the total, right? So with the given data, is there any variable that signifies the addition of these marks? This variable is used to store the scalar. Is there any variable that looks like that? Yes, there is a variable. The beginning of the program itself, I told you there's a variable we defined. What is that variable? The total mark variable. Exactly. Okay. It's a total mark variable. Okay. So the word total marks, the word itself has idea that it's going to store the total marks, right? So once we get a valid marks, what should we do? We have to add that marks and store it. Okay. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to tell that total mark variable. Okay. All this time total mark was equal to 0. No. Now in this line, what happened here was we told total mark is equal to 0. Okay. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to add the new marks. If the user is entering a marks now, in this part, what I did was I was checking is a marks valid. In this part, I was checking is a marks valid. How do I know if a mark is valid? The marks is between 0 to 100. It's valid. That was given in the question, right? So after I check if the mark valid, if the mark is valid, now I have to store that mark or add that marks. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to tell the letter F represents. Okay, I'm going to mention here the letter F represents that total mark is equal to there's no space there, right? All right, here it's the letter F represents that total mark is equal to total mark plus mark. What I mean by that is in this instruction we had in the top, we said the value of total mark is 0. In the instruction we went to stop, we said total mark is 0. Now, what I want to do in this, if the label f is, I want to add the marks entered now. So what I'm going to tell is, here I'm saying that the new value of total mark is going to be equal to, okay, the new value of total mark is going to be equal to the current value of total marks plus the marks entered. Okay. So for example, in his input marks, if the student goes and enter that he got 70 marks, what's going to happen is here we're going to go and check is what you call 70 greater than 0, is 70 less than 100. Okay. So 70 is, but between 0 and 100, no. So when you come here, what we're going to do is we're going to say total mark with total marks plus mark. Initially, total mark was 0, no? So 0 plus 70, and the new value of total mark is going to be equal to 70. Something like that is going to happen after you follow this instruction. Up to here, is that clear, all of you? So up to here, I have found the label A is done. The label D is done. The label E is done. And the label F is also done. Anyone have any questions here? If there's any questions, drop your question in the chat. Huh? But there is no variable called mark. No. Then what do you mean by this? In this, we have input mark, right? What do you mean by input mark? We are asking to input a value, and the value that was entered, we're going to store that value under the name called mark. So this name called mark will be stored in the mark the user enters. Clear? I just put total instead of total mark. Your answer is wrong. There's a condition check if it's a whole number or not, right? You can't check if a number is a whole number or not. I mean, there is a way you can check. I mean, there's a way you can convert. Like, for example, if the user enters 77.5, there's a way you can, instead of taking 77.5, what do you call there is a, like, you can do something like this. You can put a condition saying if the number is, what do you call if the number, like if you divide the number by how much? For example, no, if you do that, then there's one more step. Because if you're going to do that, then you have to also do a part of find the, like for example, the user enters 77.5. Apart from checking if this number is positive, what you called, apart from checking if this number is a whole number, if you're going to check if it's a whole number, then there's nothing you're going to do. Where to find the estimate as well. That is, I don't think that's the method they're expecting here. So this condition should probably be to check if the number is between 0 and 100. Because checking if a number is whole number is, there's one more step you should do. If there is or condition instead of and, what's in this situation, or condition can't come because number has to be between 0 and 100. Have they given these words or should we do it? It is given now. Here, for example, I got the word called total mark from here. See, the total mark is given here. There's no variable called mark. The variable called mark is there here. When you say input mark, that mark is a variable name. Okay, next. Now, up to now, I have found A out of A, B, C, D, E, F. I'll just write and keep it so it's easy. Out of A, B, C, D, E, F, and G, I have found out A. I have found out D. I have found out E. I have found out F. Okay. Now let me come to G. When you come to G, G is talking about how do you find F? Because now that's how the question is saying, right? Now, for example, if I tell you, I'm going to tell you all my 9 subjects marks, And after I tell you all the nine subjects, you all have to check if the nine subjects marks is between 0 to 100. And if the nine subjects marks is between 0 to 100, you have to add them. How will your brain process that? Okay. If I tell, for example, 700, are you going to add 700? No, because we'll be they're not between 0 to 100. But for example, if I tell you my marks is 76, then you'll be like, okay, all this time there was no marks. Now sir gave me the first marks. So now the total is 76. Okay. And now let's say I'm going to give you my second subject's marks. I'll be like, my second subject's marks was 83. So now you're going to be like, okay, you're going to go and check, first of all, is this a valid marks? If it's a valid marks, you'll be like, okay, now the total marks is going to be 76 plus 83. That's going to be what you call 7, 14, 15, 150, 150. Right. Now let's say I'm going to give you my third subject's marks. Let's say my third subject's marks was what you call 61. Then we'll make 160 and 220. The total is going to be right. So practically, you have to think how the question works. If you're going to do it manually, how will you process this? And the same pattern you apply the question. Simple. Next, we have Yusra. I'll let you know about the later stuff here. Next, we're going to go to G. Okay. Now, G is talking about modifying the value of subject count. See, they're saying subject count is equal to something. Now, when you have a variable name, first thing you're going to do is always question yourself, why do we need this variable? Now, for example, before I came to subject count, the variable I saw was one is input mark. Okay. Before that, total mark equals. Always you can find variables at two places. You can find variables at what do you call equations. I mean, giving a value for variable. The part of giving a value for variable, you can find it equations or you can find it input instructions. These are the two places where you can find where the variable is going to get a value. Okay. So here there was an equation called total marks equals. Then I was wondering, why do we need a variable called total marks? Then as per the question, I understood that we're going to get 9 subjects marks. After we get 9 subjects marks, we'll add each marks together. Okay, after the student gave the first 2 subjects marks, we'll add the first 2 subjects marks and get like this. After you get the third mark, add the third mark and you can get like this. So I know, okay, there is a part where to store the total marks. That's what total marks is going to be used for. The input marks, again, I know, okay, the marks variable is going to be used to store these marks. He's going to give me the 9 subjects marks. No? So one by one, the subjects marks, I'm going to store in the 9 mark variable. That's also fine. Now I have to figure out, why do we have this variable called subject count? Okay, practically, how you have to think is this something that we need anywhere else? Okay. Now, normally in a repetitions instructions, for example, you can see here, this part is there from here to here, these 4 instructions. These instructions are repeating again and again. Normally, when there is a repetition structure, there have to be something what you called which you can use to know how many times you have repeated. What I mean by that is, imagine you're running a race. Let's say there is a 100 meters ground. There is a grounds of radius 100 meters. Okay, it's a 100 meters grounds, and let's say there is a what you call you're running a race. You're running a 400 meters race. Now, if you're running a 400 meters race, is it possible to run a 400 meters race in a 100-meter grounds? Is it possible? What do you think? Well, I ran race in schools, but no. Yes, exactly. Perfect. Yes, it is possible. You can run. How do you run? How many times you run around the grounds? Exactly. You run 4 times, you run around the grounds. Perfect. So let's say when you're running around the grounds, you might have like a start position. For example, you might be okay, this is the start position. Right. Now, when you're running around the grounds, is it compulsory for you to keep in your mind which round are you in? Should you know in your head, am I in the first round? Am I in the second round? Am I in the third round? Am I in the fourth round? Killer? Should you keep that idea in your head? Should you know currently you're in which round running? Yes. Why is that important? Why should you keep that data in your head? What is the purpose of that data? To count? No. Why do you need to keep that value in your head? Exactly. You keep that value in your head. You keep the count. You're currently in which round you keep an amount so that you know when to stop. What is the purpose to keep ahead? So that you know when should you stop, right? So what you will do when you're running the first round, you'll be like, okay, I'm in the first round, first round, first round, first round, first round, first round, in the first round. Once you complete the first round, when you're going to start the second round, you'll be like, okay, I'm going to start the second round. Then you'll ask yourself, should I go 2 rounds? Yes. And you'll be going the second round, second round, second round, second round. So you'll be running the second round. Once you complete the second round, you'll be like, okay, I'm going to start the third round. Should I go for the third round? Then yes. So you go for the third round. You run the third round, third round, third round, third round, third round. After you complete the third round, when you're going to start the fourth round, you'll be asking yourself, okay, should I go for the fourth round? Then if it's yes, you're going to again run around the grounds for the fourth round. Once you complete the fourth round, now you will be like, okay, I have completed the fourth round. Should I run the fifth round? So when you're asking yourself, should I run the fifth round? Your mind will be like, no, we have to run only 4 rounds. Okay, 4 rounds is more than enough, and you will stop the race, right? So whenever you have something repeating, see again, you're repeating, you're running around the grounds again and again, right? Whenever there is a repetition happening, you always know how many times you're repeating, and the purpose of knowing that is to know when to stop. Is that clear of you? But won't somebody be there to help us know when to stop? No. For example, sometimes there could be a situation, yeah, you're running in the second round. When you're running a second round, you'll not be running alone. I mean, there might be 5 people running along with you. You might be in a second round, but the other fellow might be in the first round still. So if they're going to commonly stop you, then this fellow can it's not how it works. Haven't you run what do you call run race? Okay. So what do you call it's compulsory for you to know how many times to stop. Similarly, in a program as well, when there is a repetition structure, you can see we have a condition here, right? This condition is right, that condition we had in the starting point. In the starting point, every time when you completed one round, you asked a question from yourself. You asking a question here, should I run some more? Should I again go for another round? Should I go for another round, right? Just like that question you have in your hand. Okay, just like that question you have in your what do you call mind. Only this question also will be there here asking, should I go for the next round? So similarly, this condition is there to check, should you go and follow these instructions here? Okay. Now, for you to ask that question, that's going to be based on a count, right? They're based on the count, how many rounds you have completed, right? So before you start, now for example, you can see is it less than or equal to 9? You can see the value is less than or equal to 9, right? You know, is getting the marks, checking if the marks is between 0 to 100, adding that marks, these stuffs has to be done for 9 subjects. So what you can do is, if you have here a variable called subject count, we can tell initially the value of subject count was 1. Okay. We can tell initially the value of subject count was 1. Subject count, the value of this variable was 1. So what you can do is, we have a condition here. Right? In this condition, we can go and check, is the value of subject count less than or equal to 100? So if the value of subject count was less than or equal to 100, so less than or equal to 9, then you're going to follow this instruction. That is, you're going to run the, you're going to get the marks, check if it is valid marks, add the valid marks. So when the subject count was 1, you're going to do it. When subject count is 2, you're going to do it. 3, you're going to do it. 4, you're going to do it. 5, you're going to do it. 6, you're going to do it. 7, you're going to do it. 8, you're going to do. And 9, you're going to do. Okay. These are things. Now, initially, let's say in the condition called B, okay, in the label called B, let's say I have defined there an equation saying the value of subject count was 1. Then the condition in the what you call a label called C, I'm going to mention, we're going to go and check, is the value of subject count less than 9? So if it is less than 9, then we are going to get the student's marks. Then we are going to check, is his marks a valid marks? If he entered a valid marks, then we're going to store that marks. We're going to add that marks here. And once you're done doing this, now you're going to go see, these are the last instruction. These are instruction we have just before going for the next round. So just before you go for the next round, now what you're going to do is you're going to increase the count, right? You're going to increase the value of count. So there you can say subject count is equal to, so once you have completed that round, now you're going to say subject count is equal to subject count plus 1. After you increase the value, then you again go for the condition now. So in this condition, you're going to ask yourself, okay, is subject count again less than or equal 9? So for example, when the program was running for the first time, in the label call B, we had defined the value of subject count be 1 no. So after you follow this instruction, this instruction, this instruction, this instruction, here when you have subject count equal subject count plus 1, we are saying the value of subject count is going to be equal to the current value of subject count plus 1. What is the current value we said? Plus 1. So 1 plus 1, that's going to be equal to 2. So after it becomes 2, then only we are going to go and ask our condition here is subject count less than or equal to 9. We are indirectly meaning is 2 less than or equal to 9. So if 2 is less than or equal to 9, then again you're going to ask the user to enter the marks, see if it's valid, what do you call if it's valid at the marks, then increase. Like for example, when you were running the race, when you were close to the start position, when you came somewhere here, now you were like, okay, I have completed the first round. Should I go for the second round? Okay, it's like, should I go for the second round? You're going to come and ask you. Once you have completed all these instructions, you're going to go and ask you, should I go for the second round? Something like that. So if you labeled it properly, these are how the labels are going to be. B, C, D, E, F, G. Okay, A is basically A equals 0. A is representing the value of 0. Anyone having any questions here? What about H? I'll come to H. Wait. Up to here, anyone have any questions? If there's any questions, drop in the chat. Huh? Why G is plus 2? I didn't say plus 2, plus 1. Does it look like 2? Let me rewrite it. It's plus 1. Subject count equals subject count plus 1. Okay. Okay. Can't be right for G subject count plus 1. It's plus 1 when my 1 has become like, there's like 2 for. Okay. Next. Now, once that is over, though that is talking about the repetition now. So once you finish getting 9 subjects marks, once you have got all the 9 subjects marks, okay, once you're done getting 9 subjects marks, now what's going to happen here is after you get the 9 subjects marks, now you got the 9 subjects marks. After you got the 9 subjects marks, you're going to go and check the 9 subjects marks valid. If it was valid, you're going to store the 9 subjects marks. After you're done, now you're going to say subject count equals subject count plus 1, and that's going to be subject count is going to be 9 plus 1, and subject count is going to be 10. After subject count becomes 10, again you'll come for this condition now. Here you're going to go and check is 10 less than or equal to 9. Now when you go and check is 10 less than or equal to 9, that condition is going to be like, no, it is not less than, it is not equal as well. So when that gives you no, you're going to come for the right side. And you can see this condition H is just condition H, so what you call the instruction H is the instruction just before the end of the program. And if you read the question properly, the question said the purpose of the program is what? To reprint the total marks. So then at the end of the day, when the program is going to complete, just before the program complete, okay, before the program ends, the program should solve a problem. What was the problem we wanted to solve here? To print the total marks. So therefore, H should print the total marks. And what is the variable we have to store the total marks? It is a label H. So therefore, H has to be reprinting. You can use any word like display, print, anything is correct. Okay. I'm going to mention a display total mark. But instead of the word called display, you can also use the word print, show, anything is fine. Okay. So if you mention this, your answer is correct there as well. If you have any questions now, drop your marks. Again, instead of display, you can use output, show, anything else as well. I got 86 marks for second term exam. Good job. Oh, 56, 27. Good. 86. Nice. Display total marks is wrong. That's not the correct name of the variable. The correct name is total mark. It's one word and it's singular. So the word spellings has to be exact. If not, you might not get marks. Huh? Okay, put 1 mark each. If your label A was correct, put 1 mark here. If label B was correct, put 1 mark here. Put 1 mark each and tell me out of what you call one A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H, 8 marks. Out of 8 marks, how many marks are got? Put 1 mark each. Tell me out of 8 marks, how many marks are got? So, and those who have any questions, drop your questions in chat. Good job, Hamza. Okay, perfect. Again, if there's any questions, drop in the chat. If a mark that is not in the range of 0 to 100 is entered by mistake, the statement invalid mark must be printed. For this, the place where the above flowchart should be changed is indicated by the dash line. Okay. If you all had thought that this condition was used to check if the number is positive or not, sorry, if the number is what you call integer or not, here again you can see they're giving a hint that the circle portion is actually representing the part where we are going to check is a marks between 0 to 100. Anyways, so they're saying if the marks is not in that range, you have to print this statement called invalid marks. For this, the place where the above flowchart should be changed is indicated by dashed lines. Write only the pseudocode segment in your answer sheet by inserting the relevant modification corresponding to that position. Okay. Here, if you notice, they have used a keyword called segment. When they say pseudocode segment, what they are saying is they are asking you to write only that pseudocode's part. They don't want the full program pseudocode. They want just the pseudocode for that part, which they have circled here. Okay, they have circled here, encircled here, right? They're saying this portion which they have encircled, only for this portion, they want the pseudocode respective to this modification where if the marks is wrong, marks is invalid, it should represent this message called invalid marks. So how you do that is, no, it's still not done. So how you do that is you're going to do something else. You're going to write the program in such that, and you're going to write the instruction such that, what you called, okay, before you write the instruction, there is another thing to be done. I have been repeating this for the last 2 or 3 classes. Normally, when you have here a decision, I'm sorry, whenever you have a rhombus represents a condition, right? A rhombus normally represents a condition. Okay. You can notice a condition in two things. You can notice a condition in a selection structure, which means if then else statement, or you can notice a condition also in a repetition structure, like while loop, repeat until loop. There also we have conditions to be checked. Okay. That I taught you all of how you can find if a rhombus is representing a condition. Sorry, if a rhombus is representing a selection or repetition. Okay. So based on that, tell me this rhombus, is it representing a selection structure or repetition structure? Is this condition relevant to a selection structure or repetition structure? Correct. Yes. This is representing a selection structure. Okay. Because I told you, Safi, I don't know, wait. Because I told you, suppose let's say there are two people walking. One person is going to go only in the yes direction. Another person is going to go only in the no direction. Will they meet? Now you can see the yes fellow will come to this box. After this box, the yes fellow will go for the G box. Okay, he'll be going for the G box. If he goes down, he'll go for the G box. The no fellow, he'll directly come. You can see the arrowhead, if he follows and comes, he'll directly come for the G box. So you can see the yes fellow and the no fellow, both of them will meet in this G box, right? So therefore, I told you, if one fellow goes in yes direction, other fellow goes in no direction. If both of them meet in a point, it's selection. If both of them don't meet at a point, it's a repetition structure. Okay, that's how you find it. If they meet it, if one fellow is going to go in the S direction, other fellow is going to go in no direction. If they meet somewhere in the front, it's selection. If they don't meet, it's a repetition. So you can see here they meet. So because they meet, it's a selection structure. So here I'm going to write here the if statement. So I'm going to write here if and then mention the condition. So what is the condition I'm going to check? If marks is greater than 0 and mark is less than or equal to 100, then this should be in one line. There's no space, so I block it two lines. Okay. If marks is greater than or equal to 0 and marks is less than or equal to 100, then if what is label F representing total marks is equal to, there's no space here. So I'll take it side itself. I'll take it up itself. Wait. Yes. So I'm going to mention something is if what do you call mark is greater than 0 and the mark is less than or equal to 100, then the total mark is going to be equal to total mark plus the entered mark. Or else your display, instead of display, you can mention print, show, output, anything is fine. Huh? Display invalid mark. When you start if condition, it will close with the end. So this is how that circle portion will represent. So this is how your answer has to be. You wrote this correctly, exactly like this. Put 2 marks there. I wrote the whole pseudo again. If you wrote the whole pseudocode again, they're not going to check the whole pseudocode. They'll be checking only this part. So check if this part is correct and put 2 marks there. And now tell me out of 10 marks, A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H, yeah. Out of 10 marks, 8 marks the first question, 2 marks the second question. Out of 10 marks, how many marks I got? Out of 10 marks, how many marks I got? Good. Anyone have any questions here? If there's any questions, drop in the chat. If they thought, then yes, they might. Dhani at last. At last, try and info. Let you know. Okay, this question was done in the physical class, right? So the physical students don't have to do this question. You can actually leave from now. But others, those who have not done this question, I want you to do this now. At Veloth and Corona, as I can both I did this question in the class itself. Okay. But yeah, others, start doing this question. I'll give you 10 minutes. Give me a moment, let me on the timer. Is this your tube? For physicals, they got this as a printed copy. Online, you will be getting the fourth lesson tube. If you got the fourth lesson tube, that means that same file you will have this as well. This paper. Mm, you should stay after class, I'll tell you what to do. If I have not done this, again do. I'm sure I have not done this, do it. Will have done, not a problem. I wrote as if marks is less than 100. Then sort of 2 marks, what is the marks I will be getting? Like you mean instead of mentioning less than or equal to 100, you mention just less than 100, something like that. They will give you marks. They will do the correction and give you marks. Because in that pseudocode, they're not checking that. In that pseudocode, they're mainly checking the if then else end if part. If then else end if. And they will not be checking much about what you do inside this part. They will just make sure that inside the else and end if you have mentioned that display um, display invalid marks. So if that part is correct, they'll see if you had mentioned the word called if properly, then properly, else properly, display end if end. These are the only things they might check. So you'll be getting 4 marks for that question. Huh? Seriously, I didn't get it still in month after I get it on YouTube. It's supposed to come that dates that I told you is coming today. You know? Don't do Roman number two. Do only the Roman number one. Sorry. Do only the Roman number one. I'll do it at the end of here. Others, quick to start doing this. Once you're done the question, raise your hands up. Huh? Why, Mushla, why? How was yesterday? About it's good, it's good. We'll be publishing all those stuffs within this, I think, probably within this week, inshallah, or next week. So wait and see. I'll be updating that much, right? Okay, all of you will do this question. Once you're done, raise your hands up in Zoom. The master IT student of the year was Nabiha, and master student of the year is actually there in this meeting. So the master academic student of the year is Sublas fellow is there in the Zoom meeting also. Yeah, Ammar Khan. Okay, do this question. Those are done, raise your hands up in Zoom. Okay, let's check your answer. So in this question, they said that Amarbandu Mudalali selected the software development team led by Arjun to create an automated bill processing system for his supermarket. Fine. Arjun studied the existing system. Initially, they have mentioned that Arjun was leading this team. Okay, to create an automated bill processing system for his supermarket. Arjun studied the existing system. So he has studied the existing system well and gathered information to meet the new requirements. He Arjun was planned to identify software related to installing a bar. Okay, so he has planned to identify the software related to installing a barcode system, and he has designed the infrastructure of data storage and interfaces. Arjun assigned his team member Tikshana to build a program for the new system. Tikshana and his team implemented a training program for Amarbandhu and two computer assistants. After installing new billing system in this market, the software team look over its further maintenance. That's also fine. I just highlighted the important stuffs mentioned here. Okay. The first question they have asked: what is Arjun's occupation or job related to the above incident? Now, in different situations, there are different job roles you can figure out actually, because in this initial part they have said that Arjun was leading the software development team. Okay, normally a software development team is led by two people, two possible people. Mostly, it's led by someone called as a project manager. And the person who leads the software development team, mostly they are called a project manager. Okay, but also there is a what do you call another person called tech lead. He also might lead a software development team, but that's normally tech lead has different role. But again, it could be tech lead as well. But that's a bit advanced, so I'll keep that aside. And let's imagine that he's a project manager in that part. Okay. Then there's another place where Arjun studied the existing system well and planned to identify the software. Right now, the person who's going to what do you call identify software requirements. Okay, sorry, here in the first part, he studied the existing system well and gathered information to meet the new requirements. So he has studied the system to understand the new requirements, right? To understand the new requirements, he has studied the system. So that is done by a person called as a system analyst. This portion is direct. The portion where they are saying he's going to study the system to analyze the new requirements, that is normally done by a person called as a system analyst. System analyst. Okay. Then third, they have mentioned that he had planned to identify the software to install the code system, and he designed the infrastructure of data storage interface. He designed the infrastructure of data storage means he's like planning out how the database is going to be. Like in the database, how many tables we are going to have, and in that every table, what are the fields we have to contain, and interfaces means how the website is going to look like. For example, what are the pages we are going to have in this website, and in each page, how the page is going to look, the idea of how it's going to look like he'll design. Okay. So normally this designing is done by system designer. And interface designing is done by someone called as a UI designer. Okay. That's done by a UI designer. So apart from all these, what do you call software analyst, system analyst, both are same. Okay. So what do you call? These are some of the main roles you can see about, which is mentioned in the question. Okay. So there is this word called software engineer. Normally, software engineer is like a generic word. Like for example, when you go to a hospital, in a hospital there are several types of doctors. There might be someone called a dentist. There might be someone called as a cardiologist. There might be someone called what do you call orthodontist. Like there are like several types of gynecology. Okay, there are several types of doctors, right? In general, all of them are doctors. But if you want to go and meet a doctor, you should know exactly, or a general physician. These are different types of doctors we have. Similarly, software engineer is a field. Okay, software engineer is like a field, right? So out of this field, there are several job roles, right? So when you say what is his job related to the above incident, if you mention software engineer, answer is correct. But that is not a very precise answer because software engineer is not more than it's a job role. It's like a field, like teacher. Now, for example, you take teacher, there are types of teachers. There's maths teacher, ICT teacher, Sinhala teacher. The teacher is a common word. Like a software engineer is very common. If you mentioned it, that is correct. But more than mention software engineer, if you had mentioned answers like project manager, referring that point, or if you had mentioned something like system analyst or software analyst or business analyst, then also your answer is correct. If you had mentioned you system designer or UI designer, UX designer, that's also correct. These are the possible correct answer. If you all mention software developer, your answer is wrong. Because in this scenario, Arjun is not the software developer. Who is the software developer here? They have mentioned who the software developer is here. Read the program to who is the software developer here? Who developed the software? Exactly. Here they have clearly mentioned that Teekshana only built the program. Software developer only builds a program, right? So, or develops a building a program, developing a program. So here, Teekshana is a software developer, not Arjun. Okay. Yes. So if you mention any of these answers, software engineer, project manager, system analyst, system designer, UI designer, put 1 mark there. Next, write two different methods taken by Arjun to gather information. Okay. Now, in this scenario, it is not very clear who is doing what, but what is he doing, Kela? But they have mentioned he studied the existing system well and gathered information to meet the new requirements. Okay. So they have not exactly mentioned what did he do to study the existing system, what did he do to gather the new information. But in general, when you say we are studying an existing system, mostly we study an existing system by using a system. Okay. Or looking at someone using a system. Either you use it or looking at someone using a system. So if you're going to use a system or if you're going to look at someone using a system and by how that system is being used, okay, by how the system is being used, if you're going to understand the requirements, how do you call that process of gathering information as? Perfect. Exactly. If you're going to look at someone using the system or if you're going to use the system and from that understand, that we call as observation. So one of the most suitable answers I would mention, I would recommend writing here is observation. Okay. Apart from observation, another thing we can tell is maybe what you called Amarbandu Mudulal is calling Arjun, right? So he could talk with Arjun and there could be interviewing as well. But apart from that, they have mentioned he has, yeah, that's the only data you can get. He had gathered information. They haven't mentioned that he has gathered a document. If they mention he has gathered document, then you can mention sample document collection as well. But directly, there is no other answers where you could directly find out. But in your answer, mention observation, one of the best answers you could do. And probably if Amaraband Mudulal is calling what you called Arjun, then they would have had a conversation, right? So if you're going to have a conversation, and from that conversation, if you're going to identify requirements, how do you call that as? Let's say Arjun and Amaraband Mudulali, both of them are going to speak, and from that speaking, they're going to identify the requirements. Perfect. That's going to be called as interviewing. So I would recommend the second best answer here is interviewing. I would recommend these two answers as the two best answers. But apart from this, if you mention any other answers, like for example, sample document collection, sample document collection, or if you mention something like prototyping, or if you mentioned what you called questionnaires, any of out of these five, anything you mention is correct. But I would recommend observation interviewing, but apart from the any other answer also correct. You got out of these five, you wrote two, put 1 mark each, total 2 marks there. If there's any other questions, drop in the chat. Huh? Next. Has Arjun implemented the second step in the SDLC? State the reason from the above scenario. Now, when you take software development lifecycle, there are 6 phases or 6 steps. The first one is something called identifying requirements. The second phase is called the designing or else planning phase. The third phase is called implementation phase, or else the execution, or else coding phase. This is where you start coding the application. The fourth phase is something called testing and debugging. This is where you go and test the application and see are there any errors. Debugging is a process of rectifying the errors you come across, testing the application. So after done testing, you might publish the application. The process of publishing an application we call as deployment. And after you publish an application, there may be small changes to be done. That comes under maintenance. Okay. Now in that question, they're asking, have they completed the second phase? What is the second phase? Designing phase. Do you look at the question and tell me, what is your opinion? Have they completed the have they implemented the second step? Yes or no? Exactly. If you read the question properly, they had mentioned here that Arjun planned to identify software installing barcode. After they have mentioned and design the infrastructure of data storage interface. So therefore, the answer is going to be yes. Okay, yes. And for the reason you can mention, as Arjun has planned to design data storage and interfaces. Okay. So as he has done that, what do you call the answer is going to be yes. So if you mention the answer yes there, you get 1 mark. And for the reason that data storage and interfaces, that should be there in a reason. Your reason, if you have the data storage and interface part, 1 mark for the reason and 1 mark for the yes. Total 2 marks there. If you have any questions, drop in the chat. Huh? I mentioned the whole highlighted thing. Yeah, that was better. Like Arjun has planned to identify the software related to installing barcode. The whole thing was fine. I put the designing software system. I put the designing system as the reason, so it's wrong. Wrong. You know how do you know that he has? He has only planned, not yet implemented. Okay, so basically, I told you another name for designing phase. What is the other name for designing phase? I told, right, for implementation, another name is coding. I guess I give another name for designing. Yes. Another name for the second phase, planning phase. You can call it designing the solution or as planning. Let's call it planning phase. So has he planned? Yes, he has planned. There's one way you can tell that he has not done, he has just planned. But again, at the end of the day, the second phase can be also considered as planning phase. So answer is going to be yes there. He has started the plan. What are the 2 steps completed by Teekshna and the team in the system development lifecycle? So you can see here, Teekshna has built the program. So building the program, that is done in the implementation stage or else code in the solution stage. So if you mention the implementation or else coding solution, there is one possible correct answer. Implementation or else code in the solution. No. Software development, the coding was done only by Teekshna. The coding was done only by Teekshna. Teekshna built the program. And Teekshna and his team, what they did was they arranged a training program for Amarbandhu Mudalali and 2 computer assistants. Okay. So this process of normally you give a training program for Amarbandhu Mudalali and 2 assistants, that is normally done in the testing phase. Out of the testing phase, there is one type of testing where we might give the client or we might give the user or customer to test the application with the end user, the user who's going to use the application. How do you call that testing as? Correct. We call that testing as acceptance testing. So probably in acceptance testing only we might go and show Amarabandhu and his team, okay, this how the program has to be. And I mean, this is how the program has to be used. And they can ask Amar Bandhu and the team to use that program. They can teach how to use it and make them use it. So testing and debugging is what we're talking about in this training part. Then after that, they have mentioned after installing the new system in supermarket, the software development team took over its further maintenance. So that's the last phase, maintenance phase. Is also correct. Okay. If you mention developing is also actually correct because here they have mentioned that Arjun assigned his team member Tikshna to build the program. So and Tikshna is team implement 10. You can maybe our what you call Tikshna is leading the what you call development team. So if you mention development or as implementation, that's also correct. Okay. Implementation or else developing the coding the solution, that's also correct. But that's the answer, it is indirectly there. But directly when you say him and his team, Tikshna and his team directly what is given answer? Regarding Tikshna and his team directly given answer is the testing and debugging and maintenance. So anyways, out of these three, if you mentioned two answers, 1 mark each, total 4 marks there. All three are correct. Huh? The paper class too, I give only for the theory class students. So if you are coming for the physical class or as online class, along with the theory class too, you'll be getting the paper class. I know deployment, is it correct? Deployment is actually wrong because they have not mentioned anything about releasing the application or publishing the application. Like after installing the new system, the software development team took over its mail for the maintenance. They have not told that the software development team only did the installing. If they say the software development team did the installing, then your answer is correct for deployment. But here they have said after it was installed, after that was done, then only the software development team took over. After that, they took over it. That means before that, it was not with them. Before that, it was with another team. After the deployment team finished, now the project came back to the software development team. So therefore, deployment is wrong. If you're coming for the theory class, then if you're coming physically it's you'll get the tube. Online means automatically you'll be getting the tube after the class is purchased. So testing and debugging is also correct, right? Yes, because in testing and debugging phase only you might do this training program. Coding the solution is wrong. It is correct. It is correct. Deployment is wrong. Coding is correct. What is it, Chara? Deployment. They installed it. No, who said they installed it? They didn't say they installed it. They said after installing the new billing system in the supermarket, the software development team took over its further maintenance. So they took over the maintenance after the installation was done. So who knows if they did the installation? So when you say, now, for example, you can be like, after that person finished something, I took over the project. So another person finished something, then they took over for you. You take over something after the previous person goes away. So the deployment is not directly mentioned. Yes, Shimra, correct. Okay, so deployment can't, but these three you can. Out of these you mentioned two, your answer is correct. Next, what was the system testing carried out by Tikshana and team during the training program for Amarbandhu Mudalali and the two? Okay, I already asked for this question as well. What was the type of testing they did? When they were teaching the Amarbandhu's Mudalali and the assistants how to use the computer, what type of testing was done? If you're going to show the end user, or if you're going to show your client and what do you call how to use the system and they're testing it now, what do you call that type of testing? Yes, perfect. That type of testing is called the acceptance testing. So that answer is going to be their acceptance testing. Yes. Anyone have any questions here? But they have asked what was the system testing. Yeah. I mean, they're not, but they're asking what type of testing was done indirectly. Isn't system testing a type? System testing is a type. But in this question, there are also what type of testing was done. Like at the end of the day, system is being tested. So what type of testing was done for the system is what they asked. So your last one is correct. Put 1 mark there. Okay, if you had interpreted that, okay, that was system testing. What was the answer you wrote? Let's see if you answered it. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Yeah, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Yeah. Out of 8 marks, let me know how many marks I got. Others drop your clarifications in the chat. You left it. Anyone having any questions here? Is this super logical? All the questions are logical. Don't expect them spoon feed your question asking what is this, what is that, direct Baba questions. Anyone have any questions here? Okay. Actually, with that, we're done with this paper or with today's section. Those who have any clarifications, I ask some of you to ask your questions at the end. You all can stay. Otherwise, if you don't have any questions, I can leave. We're done. Yes, I ask. Anyone having any questions? Actually, in this paper, we have done all the second term stuffs. Whatever is remaining is the third term. I mean, except this question, but in the theory class, we did this question at Vellavatha and Kolana both. Online, we have not done, but Vellavatha Kolana, we have done this part as well. So this part. Barakallah, Barakallah. Those who have any questions, you can ask now. Sure, there are some tags which you have to be familiar with actually. Um, I'll tell you what to do in a while. I'll WhatsApp you stuff because there is a yeah, I'll WhatsApp you too. Just drop me WhatsApp message, ask me for it, and I'll reply. Yes, as I'll check also and reply WhatsApp. Yes, the class is over. Those who have any questions, you can stay and ask. Inshallah, you can get it to math. It's nothing. Anyone having any questions? I can remember I asked some people to ask the question at the end, apart from this. I'm sure the first question we did. The first question was this. This number. For any clarification, WhatsApp to this number. Anyone have any questions? Okay. So as there's no other questions, I'm going to wind up. But again, you can WhatsApp me. And I think last week, the last couple of weeks, because the awards day, I wasn't able to reply majority of your messages. But yesterday, I know the Master Academy's awards day was completed. So if there's anything I didn't check, I'll be checking for it. You can put it in tomorrow. Okay. Hasn't the tube been added to the website? No, the tube is available, but I think it has not been added to the website. Yes, because of the it's 10th available. It'll be dispatched this week, and yeah, don't worry, you'll be getting it as soon as possible. Right. With that, we're done for the day.